Do you remember that scene in the movie Braveheart with Mel Gibson where he goes and picks a fight?
Where are you going? I'm going to pick a fight.
Yeah, that's the one. This is supposed to be the Battle of Stirling. And just before he says he's going to go pick a fight, he gives this huge speech. And he gets his countrymen all riled up because right before that, they're pretty scared. They're looking over across the field and they see the English army, the British there, and they're terrified because they're outnumbered, they're outmanned, they've got more weapons. There's just seemingly no way for them to win. Well, this is sort of the scene that I have in my mind when I read Exodus chapter 14. In Exodus 14, the children of Israel are leaving Egypt and they've come upon the Red Sea. And right behind them, who do they have? Well, they have the largest army on the planet bearing down on top of them. In verse 10, it says, when Pharaoh drew near, the people of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians were marching after them, and they feared greatly. They were terrified because in their mind, in front of them, all they see is the Red Sea. So there's this big body of water. I can't get past it. Behind them, the largest army on the planet. They're scared to death. They can't create a script in their mind for the way this movie plays out to their favor. So what do? They look at Moses, and this is what they say. Is not this what we said to you in Egypt? This is verse 12. He says, leave us alone that we may serve the Egyptians, for it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness. Do you hear what they're saying? They're claiming that it would have been better for them to stay enslaved in Egypt and die there rather than to be a part of God's deliverance. Because right now they're not seeing God's deliverance. They're just seeing a rock in a hard place, basically. Have you ever been there in life where you know that God, He promises you great things? He promises that things will work together for good, but in certain moments of our life, in certain situations, we can't see good at all. All we see is a massive diagnosis that is weighing heavily on us, or we see the loss of a job or a loss of a relationship or a person, and we think that there's no way out. We think there's no way this could actually turn out to glorify God in any way. Well, let's look and see what happens here in Exodus. In verse 13, Moses said to the people, fear not, stand firm, and see the salvation of the Lord, which He will work for you today. You see, the problem is they were trying to work out their own salvation in their own minds, as opposed to watching and seeing what God had in store. No one there that day envisioned that the Red Sea would open up. But that's exactly what happened. God worked something miraculous in this moment. And Moses goes on to say that the Egyptians whom you see today, well, you shall never see them again. The Lord will fight for you. You have only to be silent. Think about that for a moment. The Lord will fight for you. Can you imagine how empowering those words would have been and humbling in that moment to say, listen, hey, quit trying to make this work out on your own. Something's about to happen that you could never even imagine. And sure enough, the Red Sea parts, they walk across on dry land. And then as the Egyptian army barrels down on top of them, about the time they're starting to feel anxious again probably, what happens? The army is swallowed up by the water. I don't know what you have going on in your life or what you've gone through in your life, but I want to encourage you to look back in the past and don't see the Egyptians, but see what great challenge God has brought glory to. See what great difficulty He has brought you and delivered you from. Because that's what's happening here. God, to this day, will continue to fight for His people and will continue to deliver His people. So regardless of your circumstance, the Egyptians whom you see today, whether that's a diagnosis or whatever challenge in a relationship or work or job or school, well, you will never see again. You have only to be silent. Remember, God will fight for you. I hope you have a great day.